Living in this flat feels terrifying. I'm spending every single waking moment worrying that I'm either going to burn to death in my bed at night or that I could lose everything that I've worked and saved so hard for. It's just not fair.
This is Natasha. Her block of flats in Manchester is such a fire risk, residents have to pay for a 24-hour watch. It's not just the cladding that's a fire risk here, it's the insulation in the walls, the decking and balconies.
You know, essentially I'm living in a flammable prison. You know, it feels like I've had every option taken from me through no fault of my own. And, you know, I want to move on and start a family and have children, and I can't morally bring them up in this flat when I know that it's a fire risk.
To remove the cladding alone would cost each resident £38,000. The government has long promised help, and today residents found out what was on offer.
Further funding available to pay for the removal and replacement of unsafe cladding for all leaseholders in high-rise residential buildings of 18 metres and above, or above 6 storeys in England. We continue to take a safety-led approach.
So what does that mean for people like Natasha? Well, because her block is 19 metres tall, she will be able to get a grant to remove cladding, but she'll have to pay for all other works, the fire wardens and insurance, which costs thousands. But she is still better off than Charlotte, who lives in a nearby block. Her building is 15 metres high. That means no grant, but a loan for cladding, and like Natasha, no money to cover additional costs.
Everything I have is in this property. At the moment, it's worth £0. So all of that money that I invested into a property is effectively at the moment worth nothing. And I'm a little bit worried that the cost of the actual remediation could end up being more than the deposit on the flat in the first place, which begs the question of what was actually the point in becoming a first-time buyer?
It's estimated there are 1 million people living in flats with some sort of fire safety risk, and it would cost £15 billion to fix them all. Now, the government's fund promises £5 billion to help people. That's a £10 billion shortfall with no clear answer as to where that money comes from. The government has said it will make developers pay, but how much is uncertain. After years of being promised help, people here aren't holding out much hope. Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News in Manchester.